Hello and welcome back to this week's episode of the Weightlifting House news show, the only weightlifting news show in the world. So this is the week of the 24th to the 30th of June, and we're going to jump in as tradition states, as has been mandated on the Weightlifting News Show, with Team China, kicking off with the GOAT, Lu Xiaojun. So Lu Xiaojun posted a video of a 150 kilo power snatch. They called it a power snatch. It's probably a little bit more like a power snatch. I saw a few people in the comment section were getting a little bit aggressive over the use of the terminology, but regardless, Lu can catch a snatch so deeply that any position where his hips are more than maybe a couple of inches off the floor kind of counts as a power for him. Now, Lu told me in the interview that I did with him that his best ever power snatch is 160 kilos, and I assume it was more like this power snatch version rather than a full traditional power snatch. He also mentioned that he has power cleaned 200 kilos, but no longer does that because it hurt his knees. Sticking with the same account, that's Lu Xiaojun Barbell, we'll move over to a video that they uploaded of the 73 kilo Yuan Chengfei, who hit a 210 kilo squat jerk. This is one of the most impressive jerks that you'll ever see. It's actually 12 kilos over Xiaojun's world record clean and jerk of 198 kilos. Now, for those of you who don't know Yuan Chengfei and are wondering why he's not as well known as guys like Xi or guys like Lu Xiaojun, well, it's because he's in the same weight class as Xiaojun, and so he's completely hidden in the shadows of the legend. He has, however, hit 195 kilos in the clean and jerk as a 77 kilo lifter back in 2017 when he won the Asian Championships, and more impressively is a 73. In fact, just last year at the 2019 Asian Championships in Ningbo, he hit 193 kilos, but only ended up with the silver because she won with 194 kilos, although he did hit 168 kilos in the snatch for a world record, which was 12 kilos above Yuan Chengfei. Next from China, we have a relatively unknown lifter, though he really ought to be known as well as almost anyone. His name is He Yueji. He's a 61 kilo lifter, and he just snatched 146 kilos, which is 1 kilo over Li Fei Bin, his teammate's world record snatch in that 61 kilo weight class of 145 kilos. So for those of you who don't know, He Yueji is just 18 years old, but he has been lifting for 10 years. He was picked up by coach Zhang Kedong in the Hainan provincial team, in part because he had some great reaction speed and he was incredibly agile. And also, according to He Yueji, his favourite weightlifter in the world is Lao Hui, who of course kind of superseded him in the slightly heavier 69 kilo class of old. And next and finally from China, we have Tian Tao. This video is posted by Shenzhen Weightlifting. Tian Tao, 96 kilo world champion, world record holder in the clean and jerk with a 160 kilo, again, we're going to call it a power snatch. Not quite a power, but certainly not a full snatch. This is actually to equal the 160 kilo power snatch that Bodhi Santavi from Canada hit a couple of weeks ago, the one that Mezo Hisono was going to try to beat last week. But as it stands, Bodhi still pulls this the highest. Now, interestingly, Tian Tao, despite this maybe slightly lower power snatch, though it is, of course, incredible, he is one of only 3 weightlifters in the new 96 kilo weight class to snatch over 180 kilos in competition. One of them is, of course, Surab Muradi, and the other is Anton Pliesnoy. Okay, so let's move down now to South Korea, to one of the weightlifters that I mentioned last week, 81 plus kilo Hyejeong Park. She's actually just 16 years old, which makes everything even more impressive, and this week she had a few lifts that were even more sensational than anything I've seen from her in the past. To start off with, there was a 200 kilo set of 8 in the back squat. Bear in mind, guys, she is 16. She then doubled 240 kilos, that's just 15 kilos below the double that Tatiana Kasharina hit in one of the recent videos I posted on YouTube. She then went and clean and jerked 160 kilos, that is 15 kilos over her own youth world record. She block snatched 125 kilos, 10 kilos over her youth world record, and then perhaps most spectacularly, she cleaned 180 kilos from the blocks. That is 35 kilos over her own youth world record and about 96% of the world record. Over to Qatar now, and of course there is really only one weightlifter we talk about when we go to Qatar. It's Mezo Hisono, who just hit 200 kilos in the clean and jerk incredibly easily. Over in Russia, Dmitry Klokov featured last week for a 170 kilo strict press, as well as a 170 kilo 7-ish second pause snatch. This week he did a 190 kilo hang snatch. 190 kilos. Bear in mind this guy retired in 2012 basically. He didn't go to the Olympics and that was it for him. That was 8 years ago. And this is just 95% of his best ever hang snatch. Of course, he did 200 kilos in the 2014 training hall in Almaty and then a 200 kilo pause snatch the year after in Houston. But this 190 is absolutely incredible, especially when you factor in the fact that, he's 37 years old at this point. He did a few weeks ago a 170 kilo hang snatch incredibly casually with Dmitry Brestov, the 2004 Olympic champion. And so maybe you could have seen based on that there was some more in him, but 190 was something I did not expect from Klokov. Across in Latvia, Ritvars Suharevs, the 81 kilo, well, what is he? He's 4-time European under-17 champion, 3-time silver medalist at the under-20 Europeans. He's a 2-time under-20 European champion, a 2-time under-20 world champion, unbelievably accredited weightlifter. He just hit 190 kilo clean plus front squat plus jerk. Now in the video he misses it one time and he makes it another time, misses it of course on the jerk that first time. Now this is his toughest exercise supposedly, which is kind of surprising considering he has such an incredible squat. I think 3 weeks ago he hit a new personal record in the back squat at 295 kilos, but even still, I mean this is still an enormous lift and it's just 17 kilos below the world record. Now, Ritvars is currently sitting in 10th in terms of Roby points in that 81 kilo weight class, but once you remove Xiaojun and Bozidar Andreev, who are actually 73 kilo lifters who just rank in the 81 kilo class because they have competed in that class once or twice over the last qualification period, you realize that actually he moves into the top 8, and then of course once you then remove either Lu Xiaojun or Li Dayin, because one of them won't go, he suddenly moves into a really strong position. Ritvars has best numbers during this qualification period of 162 in the snatch and 192 in the clean and jerk. Over in Italy, 81 kilo Antonino Pizzolato hit a 215 kilo split jerk off the blocks. Now he hit the jerk that Li Dayin missed last week. This is 8 kilos over the world record and he just makes it look so flawless, incredibly strong in the split. His best international clean and jerk, 201 kilos that he did at the 2019 European Championships and then most recently beat Harrison Maris at the Roma World Cup 2020. Moving over to Great Britain, we have quite a few solid lifts this week. The first from a lifter that I've never mentioned before. He is a British record holder. He's in the under 20 kilo age group. He's a 73 kilo lifter. He's just 18 years old. I'm talking about 73 kilo Jacob Finnegan. Now, if you're watching this, you'll be able to follow him because his name's on the screen. If you're not, his name is JJ Finnegan with 2 J's and 2 N's. He hit a 121 kilo snatch at the end of an 11-minute EMOM. The video takes you from 90 kilos all the way up to 121 kilos, which is 3 kilos over the current under 20 British record. He is certainly worth a follow, a real up-and-comer from the UK, and he's getting pretty strong too, most recently hitting a PR in the back squat at 210 kilos, closing in on the triple bodyweight back squat. Sarah Davies, 64 kilos. Sarah hit 93 kilos for a double off the blocks. Now, this is about 92% of her best ever snatch. She hit 101 kilos at the British Championships 2019, the international bronze level qualifier for the Olympics. We've not seen her go up to 100 kilos since, but 93 for a double, fantastic for her. And then finally from the UK, we've been following Zoe over the last month as she's gradually been incrementally increasing her clean and jerks. Last week she hit 125 kilos, it was 3 kilos below her all-time best as 64, but it was a 2 kilo personal best as a 59. This week she's gone up yet again, 127 kilos. It's just an enormous clean and jerk, and it's certainly the kind of lift that could potentially medal at the Olympics. Of course, they don't do medals for individual lifts, but if they did, it's one of the cleaner jerks that could. Maybe at the World Championships, we'll see her get that medal. She then finished off with 120 kilos for a double clean jerk. From Ireland, we have a friend of mine. We have Sean Brown, aka Phenom weightlifter. Ireland. He hit 170 kilos for a set of 8 in the back squat. That's a 5 kilo PR for him. He's one of those guys who just moves really nicely, locks out incredibly well, but strength has always been, I guess, the area where he's lacked. So to see him do 170 for a set of 8, really exciting for him as an 81 kilo lifter. I also really like the fact that behind Sean you can see the Weightlifting House flag up on the wall, which for everybody who's been messaging me, there are a lot of new gym owners around since this pandemic has struck. The flags are back in stock. If you live in the USA or you live in Europe, you can grab a Weightlifting House flag or a YB normal flag. Now, before we leave Sean, it's worth mentioning he is a national champion 5 times, as well, of course, as a national record holder. Right, let's take a very short barbell interlude. The Weightlifting House barbell, the 210,000 PSI, 10 needle bearing IWF knurling barbell that people have been honestly raving about over the last couple of years, is available again for pre-order for a late August delivery. And if you're watching this, you're probably actually going to be seeing me right now snatching the Weightlifting House barbell. You can get the most affordable, most superb weightlifting barbell at weightliftinghouse.com. The links are down below. Lastly, you can use code WeightliftingHouse at Virus International for 10% off all clothing. That works in the USA and Europe, even on top of the sale items. So right now you can essentially get up to 40% off. That's code WeightliftingHouse. The link is down below. Moving across now to the other side of the world, from Canada, we have Bodhi Santavi, 96 kilo at Bodhi champ, with a 250 kilo back squat for a triple. I actually interviewed Bodhi a few years ago before he was quite as well known as he currently is, and we spoke about his back squats, and he said that he had quite the focus on squatting in his training program, and I assume it's been that way for the last couple of years too. Meza Hisona said that he thinks that maybe what sets him apart from guys like Bodhi, Rivas and Pliesnoy in the clean and jerk is in fact back squat strength, and you can actually see that with this 290 kilo back squat from Meza that you're watching now if you're on the YouTube version. But even so, Bodhi's certainly getting a lot stronger. This coupled with the 160 power snatch, I think he definitely is in position to be snatching 180 plus come the Olympic Games. Now, we had some really big lifts coming out of the USA this week. We're going to start off with Kate Nye. Now, there's a video of her filmed from the Power and Grace training camp by my friend 1 Kilo. If you're not following 1 Kilo, please do go ahead and do that. Greatest photos in the sport, but she also does a little bit of filming, and this week got some great footage. This video is of Kate Nye hitting 105 kilos in the block snatch. Now, considering her best snatch ever is 112 kilos from the World Championships, where of course she went 112, 136, this is a really fantastic lift for her, especially considering that she's been taking a little bit of time off and has only really recently, over the last, well, 1 month really, been getting back into training properly. She also hit a clean plus front squat plus jerk at 125 kilos. That is just 92% of her best ever clean and jerk. Harrison Maris also fell prey to some fantastic photography and footage really from both 1 Kilo and YKS Media. So the first lift is 150 kilos again at the Power and Grace training camp, 150 kilos in the snatch. Now, Harrison has done 158 kilos before. He did that in Rome. That was a competition PR for him there, though of course he has snatched 160 kilos in a sort of internal gym competition in the past. Now, this sort of photo video from YKS Media, again, if you're not following YKS Media, please do, just such fantastic photos and videos again, is a 190 kilo squat jerk. Harrison supposedly wasn't supposed to be doing this. I think he was supposed to be doing split jerks as normal, but he decided he was going to go in with a squat jerk and pulled out an absurd 190. Now, leaving 81 kilo Harrison Maris for 73 kilo CJ Cummings, we saw probably, well, certainly the most impressive clean and jerk from Team USA in a long time. There's a video series of CJ going from 100 kilos all the way up to 190 kilos. It shows you all of his jumps, 120, 40, 55, 65, 75, 85, 90. The reason those last ones are so close is because this was actually for an online qualifier, a USAW online meet, and so those were his 3 attempts, 75, 85, 90. That's just 3 kilos under his own personal record, just 8 kilos under the world record. And right now, CJ is currently sitting in 5th place in the 73 kilo class in terms of Roby points. But once you get rid of Yuan Chengfei, who of course is sat behind Shi Ziyong, and once you get rid of Chen Lijun, who is a 67 kilo weightlifter who just ranks in the 73s, he's suddenly in 3rd place behind Shi Ziyong and Pozidar Andreev. Now, CJ Cummings has clean and jerked over 190 kilos 3 times in competition during the qualifying periods. Bozidar Andreev has done it 4 times and He Yueji Yuan has done it 5 times. But those 3 are the guys who are, they're certainly the strongest, at least most consistent, over 190 kilos currently. Moving on now to 89 kilo James Townsend, aka Young Tony M, who hit a 193 kilo power clean off blocks. 193 kilo power clean as an 89 kilo weightlifter. Now, James Townsend is a guy I've been following for years, since about 2015 when I first saw him power clean over 190 kilos, and he hasn't supposedly done it since. Now, considering that the world standard in the 89 kilo weight class is 216 kilos, there is yet no world record. I mean, he's only 23 kilos off that right now. Which is just absolutely incredible to be doing that for a power. A couple of weeks ago he did 170 by 3, but if you're not following James, follow James, a Young Tony M. Moving over to more people who can film and take better photos than me, we now have Barbell Stories, who joins the ranks of 1 Kilo and YKS Media. Barbell Stories got this phenomenal video of the most sensational save, this crazy PR snatch by Jessie Stamo at 107 kilos. Now that's a PR for her. She hit a competition PR, I believe it was 103 kilos. Could have been 104 kilos at the 2020 Roma World Cup that I filmed there. But if you want to learn more about Jessie, she has of course done a podcast with us within the last month that you can check out. You can learn a little bit more about her journey through the OTC to this current position that she's in. Whilst at this Power and Grace training camp where she hit the 107, she also hit a 135 kilo clean and jerk too. So as an 81 kilo lifter, 107, 135, that's a 242 kilo total. Absolutely amazing. And the final lifter from the USA this week is Mary Thiessen Lappen, 87 plus kilo athlete, aka Coach Mary on Instagram, hit some of the most sensational jerks you'll ever see from any weightlifter in any weight class anywhere. 160 kilos for a triple. A lot of people don't know about Coach Mary. She doesn't have as big an Instagram following as, I guess, her counterpart Sarah Robles, who currently holds an American record at 162 kilos. But even so, she is coming for an enormous clean and jerk at some point soon. I have a podcast with her tomorrow, I believe. I'm not quite sure what the time is. I need to sort that one out. But she will be on the podcast. We will be able to learn a little bit more about why Coach Mary is so strong. But 160 kilos, just 28 kilos under the world record for a set of 3. Phenomenal. Moving over now to New Zealand, we have a super heavyweight who is just so nice, so positive, he can't help but make you smile when you watch him or speak to him. It's David Leety. And this week he hit 185 kilos for a power clean double plus clean. And he pulls those power cleans so high, as I guess most of you can see. Now, David Leety is actually low-key enormous. I spoke to him at the Roma World Cup and I asked him how much he weighed because he was lifting directly opposite Lasha Talakadze. And as it turned out, he was weighing at that time about 170 kilos, which was light for him. David Leety has weighed as much as 180 kilos in the past, which is just absolutely incredible. And this guy is dense, he's thick, and he's one of the most exciting weightlifters to watch. He's certainly an up-and-comer in that super heavyweight class. Most recently, he tried 185, 235 a couple of weeks ago. Incredibly close, just missed a snatch and clean 235 fantastically, but the jerk just wasn't quite there. And then finally, sticking with another super heavyweight who I traditionally always end the episode with if he has done anything during the week. We have Hulk weightlifter from Egypt. This week, a 215 kilo power clean and jerk. Now, what's exciting about this is it's the same weight as Lasha hit in that recent Cherokee video where Lasha, of course, did not only the 210 no-foot snatch, which nobody in the world can do or has ever been able to do, but he did a 215 kilo power clean as pretty much as a max of that day. So exciting that Hulk weightlifter did the same. Hulk also clean and jerked 230 kilos recently, and he power snatched 165 kilos. So I will keep you guys updated with the African Hulk. Okay, so for the final section of the show, we of course have the People's Lifts. If you're new to the show, if you've never seen this before because you only watch this on YouTube, the People's Lifts is a section where I pick the greatest lifts from around Instagram from people who have used the hashtag Weightlifting House or the People's Lift. So if you post a video, put in one of those hashtags. If I like the lift, if I rate it, I'll mention it. I'll put the video of you in, boast about how you've been on the only weightlifting news show in the world. So this week we have three lifters who are of a really, really high quality actually. Now normally the People's Lifts has some average people, some beginners people, and some really quite good lifters who haven't quite made it to the international level. But this week we're just going with those top guys. So we're going to start off with actually a friend of mine, Bo Brown, 89 kilo Bo Brown, aka Bo_89kg, with a 180 kilo double clean off the low blocks. Now I remember training with Bo in Kansas a couple of years ago, less than that, a year and a half ago, and he hit his first ever 180 clean, and now he's doubling it, and he just looks so good. I mean, the first 180 was heavy. These 2 reps here look incredibly easily. He also recently jerked 186 kilos for PR, and PR'd his Snatch 2 at 153, so he really is moving up to become one of the top 89 kilo weightlifter in the USA. Next we have an athlete from Team Juggernaut. We have Alejandro Medina, aka Medina_Island, who I can only assume is a 109, probably too big for 102, certainly not a super. Now Alejandro just hit 275 kilos in the back squat. Now that's obviously amazing, but there are strong guys out there who, you know, they've got the squat but they don't have the snatch or the clean and jerk. But you'd be wrong with Alejandro Medina. He just snatched 160 kilos after, I think, just 3 years as a weightlifter. I've been following him basically since day one on Instagram. And he finally just hit this 160 kilos, which is incredibly exciting. He then went on to hit 190 kilos in the clean and jerk for his first ever 350 kilo total. Certainly one to watch. His rate of progress is absurd. If you're not following him, do so now. Medina_Island. And finally, we have Matthew Montgomery. He's a 102 kilo lifter, I believe. In fact, it looks like it is. His Instagram handle is indeed Matthew_Montgomery_102kg. And he just hit a 155 kilo block snatch. That's certainly a PR for him. He took some doubles in the block snatch all the way up to 145 kilos. He attempted 151 for a double, but only made the first rep and then thought, you know what, screw it, let's take that 55 single. Now, Matthew trains under Kevin Simons from Alpha Barbell Club. He was at Lindenwood, where he trained, I guess not under, but kind of alongside Coach Ma. But now he certainly trains just exclusively under Kevin Simons. This 155 block snatch is actually the first time he snatched over 130 kilos in quite a while, so it's an incredible lift from him. So guys, one final time, make sure you're following Matthew Montgomery, Alejandro Medina, and Bo Brown on Instagram. For the price of a mochaccino frappe latte a month, you can support the podcast, you can support the videos and all things Weightlifting House over at patreon.com/Weightlifting House. You get weekly videos, podcasts, and training programs. Head over to weightliftinghouse.com, catch up on all the news, grab yourselves a barbell, thumb tape, books, t-shirts, hoodies. Everything is there. Guys, I really appreciate you tuning in, and I'll catch you all on another episode of the Weightlifting House podcast.